Welcome to Discovery! Roll the intro, please.
Hordes of fallen masters, echoes in the deep. Chaos, blood and fury, destruction unleashed. Fire back, no mercy, oblivion awaits. Discovery, 2325 awaits.
Alright, it's been a while, 3 months to be exact. I've been on hiatus, slacking if we're being honest, but I'm back. But we're diving straight into the deep end. No gimmicks, no fake hype, just 7 brand new metal albums that deserve your attention. Well, 6 brand new metal albums. If you've been starved for riffs, chaos, filth, and something actually worth your time in this flood of releases, I've done the digging for you. These 7 aren't just pretty good, they're the kind of records that made me want to hit replay again. So crank the volume, throw on your headphones, or blast it through the walls because Discovery's back. Let's fucking go! Alright, let's rip into the first beast of the episode. And yeah, this one's gonna stir some opinions. Slaughter to Prevail is back and their new album Grizzly is here to punch a hole through the divide between old school purists and the new wave of modern heavy. Dropped July 18th, 2025 through Sumerian Records in the States and Osama Music over in Russia. This comes swinging with brass knuckles. Take a listen. Now I know that what some of you are thinking, another deathcore band doing deathcore things, but here's the thing, Grizzly doesn't play it safe. This album is violent, massive, and more adventurous than it has any right to be. There's evolution happening here, whether the gatekeepers like it or not. Now Alex the Terrible, what can you even say at this point? The guy's a machine. His vocals on this record are completely fucking feral. 1 minute he's unleashing deep abyssal growls that feel like the floor, that feels like the floor is dropping out beneath you. The next he's letting out these high, almost pig-like squeals that somehow feel controlled. There's an animalistic snarl to everything he does, and it sets the tone. You're not listening to a polished pop metal album. This is a demolition site with blood on the walls. Now, the guitar tone is thick and hostile, and it stays hostile for the full runtime. It's like being dragged through like rusted fucking barbed wire while someone's yelling at you in Russian. Banditos opens with this haunting, almost cinematic intro, and just when you think maybe they're going for something theatrical, boom, it drops into a skull-splitting breakdown that feels like a nod to Hellfest pit warfare. Then there's Russian Grizzly in America, a sledgehammer of a track, riff after riff pounding your balls and chest like a war drum. Baba Yaga is another monster with groove-driven heaviness that's designed to make your speakers cry. And then we get the wild stuff, song 3 featuring Baby Metal. Look, that shouldn't work on paper, but it does. It's weird, it's off kilter, and somehow it fits in this twisted zoo of sounds. It adds this chaotic playfulness to the record that catches you off guard. Then there's Rodina, I think, closing things out on a far more cinematic, orchestral scale, strings, atmosphere, and that looming sense of Russian pride. It's nationalistic, it's grand, and it's a clear attempt at something beyond just blast beats and slams. Now, I'll say this, the album's not perfect. Some moments drag a bit. Track 6 feels like a filler, and the production's a little too clean in spots for how filthy it wants to be. But you know what? I respect the risks. I respect the evolution. 3/4 in the way through, I realized I wasn't just nodding along. I was hooked. I was into it, hooked, and that's why Grizzly earns a solid 75% from me. It's not for everyone. If you're still clinging to that 2010 breakdowns or looking for a technical masterpiece, this might not be your record. But if you want raw aggression with ambition, Grizzly delivers. Slaughter to Prevail aren't just swinging for the pit anymore. They're aiming for something bigger, and this is the first step. Alright, so we just got flattened by Slaughter Prevail. Now we're taking a sharp turn. Still new, still heavy, but this next record lurks in a totally different kind of darkness. We're diving headfirst into Skaphos and their latest offering, Cult of Uzara, released back on May 9th, 2025 through Transcending Obscurity Records. Take a listen. This is a big one for the band. Their first release on a label, and it shows everything feels more focused, more deliberate, more fucking dangerous. The drumming is played such a huge role on this in the recording and mixing, and that hands-on approach bleeds through every murky, suffocating moment on this record. Now, the band didn't just want to sound heavy, they wanted to build an atmosphere that traps you, and they did. Right from the start, you're fucking dragged under. The production is murky but tight. The drums are raw but never sloppy, and the guitar tone, it's this thick, grinding wall that feels carved from deep sea pressure. There's a real aquatic weight to the sound here, like the whole thing was recorded in a blackened trench lit only by a bioluminescent nightmare. But here's what makes Cult of Uzara stand out. It's not just brutality for brutality's sake. There's a weird elegance to it. Yeah, the riffs hit like stone slabs, the vocals are wet and cavernous, and the drums are primitive and punishing, but beneath all that chaos, there's a melody trying to claw its way out. And sometimes it does. Take the title track, Cult of Uzara. It opens like a descent into some mythic ruin, then just fucking collapses in on itself with a wave after a wave of crushing groove. The pacing is deliberate, there's no rush, no filler. Yeah, then you've got Abyssal Tower, which lives up to the name. It's towering, suffocating, built on layer after layer of oppressive riffage, but there's space too. These ambient passages that creep in and out like fog, giving the brutality room to breathe. Skaphism is another standout, primal and punishing, but there's this bizarre elegance in order in how it all comes together. Even when they lean into dissonance, it's controlled. You can tell this isn't just a bunch of fucking riffs thrown together. It's constructed, thought out. Every crash, every cymbal, every roar, every dive into reverb Latin madness feels intentional. Now, the whole album plays like a ritual, hypnotic, haunting, and heavy as hell. By the time I hit the latter half of the record, it all started to click on a deeper level for me. This isn't just a collection of songs, it's a fucking made up world, a decaying waterlogged temple at the bottom of the ocean filled with forgotten gods and echoes of ancient screams. And just when you think it's too dense or too cryptic, some haunting headline or drum fill pulls you back in, that's when it really sunk in. This thing's got replay value. Cult of Uzara rewards patience. It's not going to slap you right in the fucking face on the first fucking spin. Give it time and it gets under your skin. And for that, it deserves some damn fucking respect. You know what? I was locked in. It's a record that sticks. It lingers long after it ends. For the weight of the production, the creative vision, the rawness mixed with craft, I'm giving Skaphos, Cult of Uzara, a strong 80%. It's one of those albums that doesn't just scream at you, it drags you somewhere darker. And if you're brave enough to go with it, there's something special waiting down there. Holy shit, go check it out. Alright, so we've torn through the modern deathcore chaos of Slaughter to Prevail, sunk into the murky abyss for Skaphos, and now it's time to strip it all back. No theatrics, no genre bending, just straight up death metal, pure, primal, and punishing. This one comes from Undecayed, and it's the debut full length. In Death's Image. It dropped on May 21st, 2025 via Lethal Scissors Records, and it's about as no nonsense as it fucking gets, and I mean that as a compliment. Take a listen. let's be real, this album doesn't reinvent anything. It's not here to impress your avant-garde prog friends. There's no atmospheric build-up, no left field detours. This is death metal for death metal fans. It's raw, aggressive, and locked in from the first second. But here's the kicker. In your knicker. In Death's image might be built on familiar foundations, but what it builds on top of them, that's where the gold is. Now the riff work is tight, like old school, like Morbid Angel by way of early Bloodbath tight. Now, right out of the gate, the world shall know only Death sets the tone, fast, filthy, and loaded with riffs that twist just enough to keep things from going stale. There's a lot of subtle flair if you're paying attention. Now, these guys know their way around the fretboards, and they're not just recycling for the sake of it. Death's only demand is another ripper, punchy and straight to the throat, with a mid-tempo stomp that feels like it was made for a sweaty basement gig. And then there's the title track, In Death's Image, slower, meatier, and absolutely soaked in that chainsaw tone. Now, the kind of groove that grabs you by the spine and drags you through the pit. Now, every time you think you've heard this album's best moment, another riff lands and keeps you hooked. Now, throughout the record, you are so hooked in some of these songs. By the 3/4, it all started to click for me. This is one of those albums you throw on when you're sick of overthinking metal. It's honest, it's confident, and it respects the craft. There's something refreshing about a band that knows what it wants to be and it executes it without apology. For me, Death's Image lands a solid 75%, not because it's flashy, but because it nails the fundamentals. This is meat and potatoes death metal, no filler, no fat. If you're the kind of person who still gets hyped when you hear that like classic HM2 buzzsaw tone or a perfectly placed dive bomb before a breakdown, then you'll get a lot of mileage out of this, so take a listen. We've had slabs of brutal deathcore, black and filth, and straight up old school death metal, but now we've got Hollywood Mortician by Nathan James, and let me tell you, this one is a ride, a weird, fucking confused, clunky, sometimes painful ride. It dropped on July 11th, 2025 as an independent release. Hollywood Mortician tries really hard to be a genre-bending dark wave metal horrorcore hybrid, and it fails at nearly all of it. Take a listen. Always go in with an open mind, especially with indie releases. Sometimes you get magic. This is not one of those times. It opens with Crown of Thorns, and yeah, you think for a second, okay, maybe we're getting that Motionless in White kind of energy. There are some decent riffs. The production isn't terrible, and it sort of tries to get heavy. But the second the vocals hit, I knew this wasn't going to end fucking well. It's trying so hard to be edgy, theatrical, dangerous, and just ends up sounding like someone doing spooky cosplay over uninspired riffage. And then we slide into Ghost Under the Veil, and the cracks start to show. The lyrics, amateur hour, it's like reading a vampire diary from a 2008 Tumblr page. Now, melodramatic and messy. The instrumentation has potential, but it's wasted on vocal lines that feel like they were scribbled on a fucking napkin while you're sitting on a toilet, like fucking a toilet paper or something. Now, the Hangman is where I actually stopped and said out loud, this is bad. Cheesy lyrics, awkward delivery, no hook, no atmosphere. There's some attempt at hardcore grit, and the riff's trying to do something, but every time the chorus comes in, it just falls flat, like watching someone rev a bike that won't start. And let's talk about that album cover for a second. Palm trees, Nathan James posing front and center. It looks like a promotional poster for a vampire soap opera filmed in Miami. It screams dark, but whispers rejected concept art. I'll be fair, Misanthrope was a moment. It actually had a decent chorus and chord progression. There's a clear Motionless in White influence again, but this one sticks to landing a bit more. Now, small win, then we hit Alienation, and any goodwill vanishes. Rap elements, just why? They don't fit, they don't flow, and lyrically it's another eye roller. Now, the whole thing feels like a band that sat in the room throwing darts at genre buzzwords. Let's do fucking new metal. No way emo trap. No way breakdowns. No way deathcore. No way dance beats. Come on. Nails featuring Orgy, which you'd think would be wild, ends up being utterly forgettable. Some decent vocals, sure, but again, no staying power, just noise in the fucking wind. At this point in the album, I just wanted to be over. Then 100 Proofs drops in with its diet corn vibes and budget electronic overlays, and I'm sitting there thinking, is this satire? The track bounces between half-hearted heaviness and cringy emo core, and it's got that annoying confidence like it's reinventing something. Spoiler alert, it's fucking not. By the time Appetite showed up, I was confused. The lyrics are so bizarre. I couldn't tell if this guy was trying to be seductive or if he's role-playing as a vampire. Either way, it's a mess. Throw it in the bin, get in the bin. There were 2 tracks that didn't make me want to press skip instantly. Funeral had some decent Manson vibes, and Bloodhound had a heavy edge and some pretty gnarly growls. Now, there's some cool guitar lead work too, probably the most metal moment of the whole thing, but even that gets buried under awkward, clean, harsh vocal trade-offs that just don't blend. And the final nail in the coffin. Yes, tickets to your downfall. That's the final nail in the coffin. I lasted 1 minute, but of course I listened to all of that. That's all I could take. Awful track, terrible lyrics, off-key misery. Yeah. By the end of it, I was completely checked out. It's one of those albums that feels like it's trying to be everything and ends up being fucking nothing. It's unfocused, tonally chaotic, lyrically weak, and creatively unsure what the hell it even wants to be. For all that, the inconsistencies, the genre confusion, the constant trying too hard, I'm giving Hollywood Mortician a definite 25%. Get in the bin. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard. No way, but it's close. A couple okay moments. Don't save this train wreck. Needs a total rethink or a genre exorcism. Get in the bin. Alright, we've torn through the New Blood, slammed some absolutely trash, and now it's time to take a step back and pay some respect to one of the godfathers of shock rock. Alice Cooper is back, and this time it's the original band reuniting for the first time in over 50 years. That's a sentence you don't get to say often. The album's called The Revenge of Alice Cooper, dropped July 25th through Ear Music, and yep, the legendary Bob Ezrin is back on production. That alone sets the stage for something big. Take a listen. Now look, let's manage expectations here. This isn't $1 billion babies or Welcome to My Nightmare, but it is a sincere, focused, and at times surprisingly inspired effort from a bunch of rock veterans who clearly still have some fire left in them. From the moment Black Mamba kicks in, there's this confident swagger. It's not trying to prove anything, it just is. The chorus is strong, classic Cooper style, with a little vulnerability tucked in, which honestly caught me off guard in the best way. Lyrically, it hits a more introspective note, which feels earned at this point in Alice's career. He's not just playing the villain anymore. There's more reflection, more darkness with weight, not just for show. While Ones follows that up with a slick groove, funky, strutting, and honestly a bit cheeky. It's a kind of song that feels made for late night drives under neon lights. It doesn't try to go over the top. It just rides the riff and lets Alice do his thing. Then there's Up All Night. And yeah, let's be honest, it's a dick song. Let's just be honest, but it's fun, and the guitar work is tight with a throwback classic rock sound that doesn't feel debated. It feels lived in, but like most reunion albums, it's not all killer. Like, you got songs like Kill the Flies is where things start to wobble. It's got this awkward structure that never quite clicks, but it was meant to be something bigger or more dramatic, but they didn't quite get there. There are cool ideas buried in, but they never fully develop. It ends up feeling like a filler track on an otherwise solid run. Luckily, the album has a few tricks left. What is Sid and Intergalactic Vagabond Blues leans hard into like blues rock vibe, and they pull it off. These tracks sound like the band actually jamming, not just layering takes in our studio. There's a looseness to them, a grit that gives the album some personality, especially in the Galactic Vagabond Blues. That's one of those songs where the title alone tells you it's going to be weird, and it delivers. It's goofy, but in a way that feels authentic to Cooper's theatrical DNA. Now, production-wise, Ezrin fucking nails it. You can hear the love it to death fingerprints all over this, the tight rhythm sections, the way the vocals sit just a bit forward, the little splashes of dramatic flair. It's clean but not sterile, and polished but still lets the grit come through. The guitars have that warm bite, the drums have punch, and Alice's voice, wow, obviously age still brings that sneering charm. He owns these songs, and while some tracks don't land, you can feel the effort. The band isn't phoning it in. They're playing like they want this to matter. Even the weaker songs don't feel lazy, just maybe a little undercooked. By the time I finished it, I found myself not thinking about the classics, but just enjoying the record for what it is. And I was enjoying it, I really was. A group of legends getting together and making a solid slab of theatrical rock. One last hurrah with original chemistry, just like the Rolling Stones did a few years back. It's not reinventing the wheel, but it's rolling just fine. See on the other side closes things out beautifully, melancholic, reflective, and surprisingly touching. It feels like a farewell. Maybe not forever, but a tip of the hat to the fans who've been there since the guillotine days. So no, The Revenge of Alice Cooper won't be the album people point to when listing his all-time best, but that's not the point. What it is, it's a damn solid return. For longtime fans, there's more than enough here to enjoy. And for newcomers, it's a reminder Alice Cooper isn't just a gimmick, he's also a survivor. For the legacy, the stronger tracks, the effort behind the riffs, and the fact that it still sounds like Alice Cooper in 2025 without feeling like a tribute act, I'm giving The Revenge of Alice Cooper a solid 70%. It's not groundbreaking, it's not iconic, but it's real, and that counts. So go check it out.
Money doesn't talk, it screams. Money's at the root of all our dreams. It's the devil at the door.
All right, time to switch gears again and spotlight something truly special from the underground. This one comes from right here in Australia. Echoes of Gloom just dropped their new album, The Mind's Eternal Storm, on July 12th, 2025. And let me tell you, this thing completely caught me off guard. No major label, no industry hype, just raw independence, brilliance, and sometimes that's where the magic happens. Take a listen. Now the album opens with a soft, dreamy intro that sets the tone perfectly. It's peaceful, almost serene, but then Immortality Manifest kicks in and you're pulled into a whirlwind of raw black metal. But this isn't just lo-fi for the sake of being lo-fi. The production is gritty but balanced, letting guitar leads shine, the vocals cut through with clarity and intent. There's a sense of purpose behind every decision here. The blend of influences is where this thing really starts to stand out. You got the hypnotic droning riffs that pull straight from the Burzum playbook, those cold looping patterns that suck you into a trance, but then you get these bursts of melodic, galloping, almost Iron Maiden-esque energy that feels completely unexpected, and that's what's so good about this, you know? And yet, somehow it works flawlessly. It's that mix of meditative and explosive that keeps the whole album feeling alive. The Wandering Moon is one of the best examples of their dynamic range. It starts off slow, dragging you through fog-covered forests with haunting synths and crawling tempo, and then like a switch flipping, the pace ramps up and you're suddenly in a full-speed black metal territory, fast, sharp, and emotional. But the melody never gets lost. It rides along the chaos, and that's what gives the song its power. Then Malignant Towers of Delirium enters and kicks the door down. The black and death metal vocals here add a whole new layer of heaviness, backed by relentless blast beats and towering riffs. But what really caught me were the clean, almost post-black guitar passages. Now they break through the storm like sunlight through smoke, just enough to make you look up before being dragged back under. It's brutal but elegant. Then you got Throes of Bereavement 1. Caught me off guard with its clean vocals, commanding, almost ritualistic, like a leader rallying his followers before a descent into madness. When part 2 follows, the transition is so seamless you barely realize it's a separate track. That's a testament to the album's flow. It's built as a single experience, not a collection of ideas. And let's not ignore the pinch harmonics here. Nasty, sharp, and used perfectly to give the riff that extra sting. Even the interlude tome of fathomless darkness earns its place. It's straight up dungeon synth, calming, atmospheric, and perfectly timed. It doesn't feel like filler. It feels like a song that could easily come out of Fahrenholt's albums. It feels like the album taking a breath before the next descent. The progressive lean really kicks in during the final stretch of this album. You start hearing more creative structures, evolving melodies, and layered vocals. The closer, Wanderer of the Mind's Eternal Storm, pulls everything together with a sound that's equal parts majestic and menacing. It fades out like a memory you're not quite done with. And before I knew it, the album had looped back to the beginning. That's how immersive it is, and that is such a good fucking sign. I was hooked. I was hooked all the way through. This is a record that lives up in its own world for a debut, an independent one at that. It's remarkably confident. It blends black metal, black gaze, dungeon synth, death elements, and post-rock textures into something that feels organic, emotional, and powerful. For its diversity, atmosphere, songwriting depth, and ability to completely absorb you, I'm giving Echoes of Gloom, The Mind's Eternal Storm, a well-earned 85%. No frills, no hype, just incredible music. Don't let this one pass you by. Go check it out. All right, we've been through the ringer today. Brutality, beauty, chaos, and even comedy. But now, as the smoke settles, it's time for the main event. And trust me when I say this one doesn't hold back. We're talking about Abigail Williams and their new full-length descent into absolute black and despair, A Void Within Existence, released July 18, 2025 through Agonia Records. This album is more than a record. It's a psychological collapse orchestrated with surgical intent. Take a listen. Ken Sorcerer, the band's sole driving force, and handled production, mixing, and mastering himself, and the result is a vision so cohesive, so suffocatingly dark that it feels like it was dragged up from the depths of a collapsed star. This is an album made for those nights when the sky's too quiet and your thoughts are screaming. It's not about bangers, it's not about singles. It's all about fucking atmosphere on this album. It's about descent. This is full immersion into oblivion. The opening moments don't ease you in. They drop you into the void and slam the hatch shut behind you. That's what Void Within does. Those spiraling lead guitar passages twist like smoke in a sealed room, forming a dizzying structure of tension and collapse. There's nothing casual about the pacing. Every second drips with anxiety, grief, and grief. You don't get time to adjust. You fucking sing. But what makes this album really shine is how it balances dread with elegance. Non-existence is a slow motion implosion. It crawls through a doomy haze, but instead of relying on sludge or drone, it feels weighty, The riffs carry emotional density. The drums are absolutely phenomenal here. There's no excess. There's no excuse. There's no filler. His drumming is precise, surgical, and agonizingly heavy. He doesn't show off. He grounds the madness. It's a kind of percussion. It's a kind of percussion that makes you feel like the floor is shifting beneath you. And then that guitar solo hits smooth, sorrowful, and full of character. Sorcerer doesn't go flashy. He goes personal. This is one of those solos you feel more than here. It bleeds regret like something clawing out of the past. It doesn't need to shred to destroy you. Just when you think the album has found its shape, Talk to Your Sleep breaks the mold. This is the most violent track on the record. I'm not shitting you, but it's controlled violence. The guitar work coils and tightens like a constrictor. And those vocals, they aren't just harsh, they're agonized. They sound like a soul being torn in half. This is one of Sorcerer's most, powerful performances vocally, and the guitars surrounding him, jagged, swirling, labyrinth, only elevate the madness. It's a standout track, not because it's catchy, but because it hurts so painfully when listened to. No Less Than Death. This is where the whole album clicks into place. Thematically, sonically, emotionally, it's the exhale at the end of a long tortured breath. It's raw and atmospheric, full of hopeless beauty, but here's the twist. Sorcerer brings in clean vocals, not as contrast, but as an extension of suffering. They float over the blackened, riffing like a ghost trying to be heard. They don't bring relief, they make it worse, and that's exactly why this fucking works. The layering of harsh and clean vocals creates a tension that stretches the entire song until it finally snaps and fades. And when it does, you're left with silence, not peace. Silence, emptiness. But by the end of it, you're not even thinking about where it sits in the band's discography. You're too deep. But stepping back, here's the truth. It doesn't quite top 2019's Walk Beyond the Dark. That was a defining moment, a once-in-a-career album. But A Void Within Existence sits right behind it, in my opinion. And in some ways, it's even darker. Where Walk Beyond explored sorrow. This album confronts nothingness. No light, no redemption, just space, memory, and decay. The production is immaculate. It really is. Every sound from the reverb-drenched guitars to the bone-dry snare hits is exactly where it needs to be. This is the product of one mind, completely in control of every single fucking element. It's not overproduced, it's obsessively crafted. And that's why, for all its suffocating weight, for its emotional devastation and precision crafted chaos, I'm giving Abigail Williams' A Void Within Existence a very strong 85%. Like, it's not just an album, it's a descent. And if you're brave enough to take the plunge, you'll come back changed, and holy shit, it's what's fantastic. And that's a wrap on this episode. 7 albums, some brutal, some beautiful, and one that definitely didn't make the cut. We've covered everything from the depths of black metal madness to the no-frills glory of old-school death, and even took a few wild detours along the way, whether it was the suffocating atmosphere of Abigail Williams, the unexpected charm of Echoes of Gloom, or the absolute riff fest from Undecayed. This was a comeback worth making. Drop your favorite discoveries down below. I want to know what hit you the hardest. It's been fun. I'll see you next week, and I'll see you in the next one.